Before we begin, I want to take a moment to honor the cultures behind the stories we are about to explore. The tales shared here come from many peoples, lands, and traditions. I do not change these stories to fit modern expectations or to align with today's social standards. Instead, I present them as they were told, sometimes beautiful, sometimes harsh, sometimes challenging. We are not here to judge the past, but to understand it, to listen, to learn, and to honor the ancestors who carried these stories forward. We also share stories from various religious traditions. These are presented in their historical and spiritual context, with respect for their beliefs that they represent. Every culture deserves respect, context, and acknowledgement, and this space is dedicated to doing exactly that. August 1st, the Flame Born. Story 1. Agni, born from the sacred fire. Long before temples rose across India and before sacred hymns were written upon palm leaves, the ancient Vedic people gathered beneath open skies to kindle fire. They believed that every flame was more than warmth against the darkness. It was Agni himself, the divine fire that made visible upon earth. Unlike many gods who lived in distant heavens, Agni appeared wherever two pieces of sacred wood were patiently brought together. Priests took branches from Arini trees, one resting upon the other, and with careful rhythm began to turn a wooden spindle between their hands. Slowly the dry wood warmed, smoke curled upward. Then, almost imperceptibly, a tiny ember was born. From that single glowing spark, fire leaped into life. To the Vedic imagination, Agni was not manufactured by human hands. He was awakened, hidden within the wood since the beginning of creation. He waited quietly until devotion, patience, and the right action invited him forth. As the flame grew brighter, offerings of clarified butter, fragrant herbs, grains, and sacred woods were placed into the fire. Their smoke rose heavenward, carrying prayers to the gods. For this reason, Agni became known as the divine messenger, the one who bridged the worlds of humanity and heaven. Every sacrifice, every blessing, every household hearth depended upon his presence. Without fire, there could be no warmth, no cooked food, no sacred ritual, and no communication between mortals and the divine. Yet Agni was never understood as merely destructive. Though flames consumed what they touched, they also purified. Gold placed within fire emerged cleaner than before. Food became nourishing through heat. Forests burned only to awaken fresh growth from the soil beneath the ashes. Even the rising sun was seen as a celestial expression of Agni's eternal light, kindling each new day across the sky. The Vedic hymns often called him twice-born, for he appeared again and again wherever people faithfully rekindled the sacred fire. Every dawn became another birth, every altar another beginning. This understanding transformed the smallest spark into a profound symbol of life itself. Great fires did not begin as roaring infernos. They began with patient hands, quiet persistence, in a single ember carefully protected from the wind. The ancient sages recognized that the same truth lived with every human heart. Wisdom begins as curiosity. Courage begins as one small choice. Compassion begins as a single act of kindness. Like Agni, hidden within the wood, our greatest gifts often wait unseen until effort, discipline, and faith awaken them. Thus, every time the sacred fire was born anew, it reminded the people that extraordinary light often begins where no one thinks to look, hidden within ordinary things until the moment they are called forth. Story 2, Pele, Keeper of Living Fire. Across the islands of Hawaii, where black lava cliffs met the endless Pacific, and the earth still reshapes itself beneath the feet of those who walk upon it, the people have long remembered Pele, the powerful goddess of volcanoes, fire, and creation. Her story began far across the ocean, where she was born into a divine family and set out in search of a homeland worthy of her blazing spirit. Traveling by canoe with her siblings, Pele carried with her the sacred fire that burned not only in the mountains, but with her own soul. Island after island she searched, digging deep into the earth with her magic staff in hopes of finding a place where her fires could live undisturbed. Yet each attempt was frustrated. The sea rushed into the craters she carved, hissing against molten rock until steam swallowed the sky. Still, she refused to surrender. She sailed onward, following the pull of destiny until she reached the great island of Hawaii. There, within Kilauea, her fires finally found a home. From that living volcano, rivers of glowing lava poured across the landscape. Forests disappeared beneath molten stone. Cliffs cracked and collapsed into the sea. To an outsider, it seemed only destruction. But the Hawaiian people witnessed something deeper. They saw fresh land rising where there had once only been ocean. They watched rain and wind slowly break apart the hardened lava into fertile soil. Ferns emerged first, followed by ohia, trees, flowers, birds, and eventually entire forests. Pele's fire did not merely consume, it created. Her lava extended the islands themselves, reminding every generation that birth and destruction often arrive together. Pele was also known as a goddess of fierce emotion. Her passions could erupt as suddenly as the volcanoes she ruled. Yet even her temper carried a lesson. Fire demands respect. It cannot be possessed or controlled. It must be approached with humility, wisdom, and gratitude. Many Hawaiian traditions tell of Pele appearing disguised as an elderly woman, wandering the islands and asking strangers for food, water, or kindness. Those who treated her with generosity often received blessings. Those who mocked or rejected her sometimes discovered too late whom they had refused. In this way, Pele's story taught that every encounter might carry the presence of the sacred. Even today, many residents and cultural practitioners leave offerings near volcanic landscapes, not to appease destruction, but to honor the living forces that continue shaping the islands. Visitors are often encouraged to leave lava rocks where they rest, recognizing them not as souvenirs but as part of Pele's ongoing work of creation. To the Hawaiian imagination, fire is never simply an enemy. It is a heartbeat of an earth that is still alive, still growing, and still bringing forth new worlds from glowing rivers beneath the mountains. Every eruption proclaims that creation is not something that happened only long ago. It is happening still. Story 3, Svarog and the First Heavenly Forge. Before iron rang beneath the hammer, and before human hands learned to shape plows, swords, or sacred tools, the old Slavic peoples imagined that every flame upon the earth had once been kindled in a far greater fire above. There, beyond the clouds, dwelled Svarog, the great celestial smith, lord of heavenly fire, craftsmanship, and divine order. While many gods ruled forests, rivers, or storms, Svarog governed the forge itself, the mysterious place where raw, formless matter was transformed into something strong, beautiful, and useful. It blazed with white-hot fire that never faded, while mighty anvils echoed with the rhythm of creation itself. Sparks flew like stars across the heavens as Svarog lifted his great hammer, shaping the hidden foundations of the world with every measured strike. To the Slavic imagination, fire was never merely destructive. It was the force that made civilization possible. Stone could shelter a family, but only fire could soften stubborn ore into shining metal. A fallen tree offered wood, but only fire allowed it to become warmth through winter or bread upon the hearth. The forge became a place where nature and human ingenuity met, where patience, discipline, and skill transformed ordinary materials into extraordinary works. Svarog embodied this sacred transformation. Ancient traditions tell that he bestowed fire and the knowledge of metalworking upon humanity, teaching people not only how to survive but how to create. Through the gift of the forge came plows that opened the soil for harvest, horseshoes that carried travelers farther than ever before, and tools that allowed villages to flourish. Yet Svarog's greatest gift was not metal itself. It was the understanding that strength is rarely found in something left unchanged. Iron becomes useful only after enduring intense heat, repeated blows, and careful shaping. The same could be said of human character. Courage grows stronger through hardship. Wisdom is refined by experience. Compassion deepens through suffering. Like glowing steel upon the anvil, the human spirit is often forged where life feels hottest, and the hammer falls most often. Every spark that leapt from Svarog's forge carried this lesson into the world. Creation is not always gentle. Sometimes beauty is born through pressure. Sometimes purpose emerges only after long refinement. The old Slavic storytellers looked upon every village blacksmith with quiet reverence because they believed his work echoed the labor of the divine smith above. Each ringing hammer became a reminder that fire exists not only to consume but to shape. The forge does not destroy the iron, it reveals what the iron is capable of becoming. In the same way, every challenge, every trial, and every season of difficulty may become the place where hidden strength first takes form. Thus, as sparks danced into the night sky, the people remembered that the greatest flames are not those that rage without purpose, but those that patiently transform the ordinary into something worthy of generations yet to come. Story 4. The Bennu, Bird, and the First Dawn. Before the first sunrise ever touched the waters of the world, the ancient Egyptians imagined creation resting in endless darkness. There was no land, no sky, and no living creature. Only the vast, silent waters known as noon, stretching without beginning or end. Then, from those primordial depths, the first mound of earth slowly emerged, rising above the waters like an island at the birth of time. Upon that sacred place descended a radiant bird unlike any other. The Egyptians called it the Bennu, a magnificent heron-like creature whose brilliant feathers shimmered with the light of a newborn sun. Perching upon the first stone or the sacred Ben pillar, the Bennu let out its first cry. That call echoed across the silent universe, breaking the stillness that had existed since before time itself. With its voice, creation awakened. The sun god Ra began his daily journeys across the heavens. Light spread over the waters, the wind stirred for the first time, and life slowly unfolded across the earth. The Bennu was therefore remembered not simply as a bird, but as a living soul of renewal itself, forever connected to the rising sun and the mystery of beginnings. Each morning when the eastern horizon blazed with gold, the Egyptians believed they were witnessing the same miracle repeated again. Darkness had not defeated the light. Instead, light was faithfully born anew. Over centuries, the Bennu also became associated with Osiris, the Lord of Resurrection, whose own story taught that life could emerge even after death. Because of those connections, the Bennu came to symbolize rebirth, endurance, and the internal rhythm of creation. Later Greek writers encountered Egyptian traditions surrounding the Bennu and connected them with the legendary phoenix, the marvelous bird said to perish in flame before rising again from its own ashes. Although the phoenix developed into its own distinct legend, many scholars believe the ancient Bennu helped inspire its earliest forms. Yet the Egyptian vision remained beautifully unique. The Bennu did not need to burn in order to live again. It rose each day with the sun itself, reminding humanity that renewal is woven into the very fabric of the universe. Every dawn became a quiet promise that no darkness lasts forever. Every sunrise proclaimed that creation is not merely an event buried in the distant past, but an ongoing act renewed with each passing day. To the Egyptians, the greatest miracle was not simply that the world had once begun. It was that every morning offered another opportunity for light to overcome night. As long as the Bennu continued to greet the rising sun, hope itself remained alive within the turning of the heavens. Daily thread for August 1st. The flame born. What wants to ignite in me? Every great fire begins in a way that is almost easy to miss. Before there is warmth, there is only a spark. Before there is a roaring blaze, there is friction, patience, and the quiet possibility that something extraordinary is about to awaken. Today's stories invite us to witness that first moment of becoming. Agni slept hidden within ordinary wood until faithful hands drew him forth, teaching that sacred power often lies waiting beneath the surface of everyday life. Pele transformed rivers of molten fire into new islands, reminding us that creation and destruction are often born together, each making room for the other. Svarog's heavenly forge revealed that the strongest things in existence are not discovered fully formed, but patiently shaped through heat, discipline, and purpose. And the radiant Bennu welcomed the first sunrise, proclaiming that every dawn is creation beginning again. Though these traditions are thousands of miles apart, they all recognize the same profound truth. The beginning is sacred. We often admire the finished work, the towering oak, the master artisan, the fearless leader, or the brilliant flame, forgetting that each one started as something remarkably small. A seed disappears beneath the soil before becoming a forest. A single ember becomes the campfire around which generations gather. Even the sun seems to rise quietly before filling the entire sky with light. Our own lives follow the same rhythm. The conversation that changes everything begins with one sentence. A calling begins as a whisper. Courage often looks like one small decision made before anyone else notices. The ancients understood that the world is renewed, not only through dramatic miracles, but through countless humble beginnings faithfully nurtured over time. That is why the first spark deserves reverence. It carries within it possibilities no one can yet imagine. As we begin this new month together, perhaps the question is not whether you already burn brightly. Perhaps it is much simpler. What spark have you been protecting? What quiet dream, forgotten gift, buried hope, or small act of kindness has been waiting for just enough breath to become flame? The stories remind us that fire does not ask permission to become light. It simply asks to be tended. Every blaze that has ever warmed a family, forged a tool, or illuminated the darkness began exactly where you stand now, with one fragile spark willing to become something more. August 1st, the flame born. Fire appears, and all power begins as spark. What wants to ignite in me? Light a candle and sit with the flame for a few breaths, witnessing the moment fire takes form. Honor one emerging impulse today without rushing it toward outcome. And enjoy week 1 of our August month, the ignition, the month of the flame bearer and sun and fire.